Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we'll be ranking every single Big Nate Halloween comic. So let's get to it. 31, 2012. So Nate decides to put up a sign that says, "Trick or treats, welcome." However, Mr. Right didn't give good candy, so he's like, yeah, don't bother. So I don't understand why this is only just a Sunday, but the reasoning for this is because during this time there was actually a football game during these comics, and I just don't understand. It's not really interesting, and it's only just one Sunday strip about Halloween. That's it. 30, 2002. So much like 2012, there's another soccer game going. So there's only one Halloween strip, and that is during a Sunday strip. And well, I get the joke how basically like the pumpkin's friend has been squashed. It's still not that interesting because there's not much more comic strips than that. 29, 2016. So this Halloween night is converted into a Sunday comic strip. Great. All of these first ones, all just Sunday comic strips. And yes, this is actually really funny because Francis literally bores someone to death. But not much to it as you can see. 28, 2008. So instead of like usual Halloween Sunday strips, this one actually takes place in November. And he tells Francis that he has one final Halloween candy. And even Francis says that, even though it's the Easter candy. Oops. But anyways, there's not really much to it. It's just them talking about candy. And no trick-or-treat. None of those stuff? Come on! 27, 1998. So instead of like the usual Nate goes trick-or-treating, it's actually more of Nate made something for the Snuggles. And yes, it is pretty charming, but honestly, it makes more sense that Nate and his friends do trick-or-treating because there's some very good comics because of it. It's still charming, but it's not as better as the other ones. 26, 1994. There's actually two sets of Halloween comics. One is where they dress up to go to Debbie's birthday party, and Nate pretends to be Francis because he's kind of funny like that. And the other is where he accidentally eats like some stuff, and he becomes like Cherry after eating too much. And while I enjoy this, there's like much better than, this one because, it's okay, but it could have been improved. 25, 1995. 1995 and 1994 could be interchanged. I just like this one slightly better because there's actually funny stuff. The first part, yes, I know I'm going a bit fast, but whatever. The first part is where they're carving and some stuff like pumpkins, and the other is Trick or Treat. And while both are fun, they're a little bit simpler than, other ones that we're going to talk about. 24, 2004. Instead of focusing on Nate and the other characters in Trick or Treat, it focuses on Martin, who gets invited into a Halloween party and tries to figure out what costume he wants to be. He eventually becomes Peter Pan. And while it doesn't look good, I still think it's a bit decent and funny. And while it's not a great one, it's still a bit decent, to say the least. 23, 2009. So instead of Nate just going trick-or-treating with his friends, he goes trick-or-treating with Peter because, he's like I guess babysitting, if you ask that. And I know it's not the greatest one, and while it's simple, it's still interesting. I know I'm supposed to be disagreeing with some of these stuff, but these Halloween comics are so fun to read. 22, 2007. We're starting getting into the stuff where Martin decides to give out bad old candy, and we're starting off with prunes. And while this is not one of the best ones, it is pretty funny to see the kids' reactions when they notice the prunes. Ugh, prunes sound so ugh. 21, 1992. The very first Halloween comic by Big Nate. Yes, it is very simple. There is some ordinary Halloween things, but it's honestly looks so good. It's honestly simple that it makes it, and it's also so good that it makes it a really good comic to read, and you can definitely reread this over and over because it's just so fun to read. 2021. So this one is very recent, and it's just like the other comics, which I'll eventually tell you about, is just the same plot over and over. And while I won't say it's bad, it could have been improved, but it does have some cool jokes here and there. 2020. So yes, it's the same premise where Martin gives out bad candy. But not only that, but every single place also gives out bad candy as well. I don't understand. And while it's not one of the greatest ones, it's still pretty funny to see. And also Mario, Luigi, and Charlie Brown are there as well, cosplayed. Amazing. 2022. A very recent one where Nate picks out a pumpkin and notices some initials and things like this is from someone else, but fails. And while it's something new and it's not as interesting, it's still pretty decent to see something new besides just trick-or-treating. 2017. So yes, it's the same premise, but there's still some funny jokes here and there to live up the feeling. And while it's not part of like around the top 10, it's still pretty funny to see some jokes here and there to spice it up. 1998. So Nate dresses up as Martin, which is actually really funny and makes the comic really special because instead of just focusing on Nate and friends and all the trick-or-treating stuff, it focuses more on the costume, which adds a lot of value and makes this a really funny comic strip. 2019. So yes, this is the same premise. And even though it's the same premise, it still has some funny jokes here and there to make it an incredible comic. Also, please ignore these sounds. They are vacuum sounds. 2006. So instead of Martin getting candy, he forgets candy, and he gets in big trouble when the kids get super ugly about it that they ended up spraying the entire house. And I love that kind of humor and makes it a really funny comic to read. I just love this kind of humor. 1997. So this is the first time Martin gets into the bad candy phase. And this is actually one of the best examples of it because it's an enjoyable comic and its depth makes this a really funny comic to reread over and over. 1993. So instead of just focusing on like trick-or-treating and stuff, for the second year of Big Nate's Halloween comics, instead it focuses on a dance. And I absolutely love like all the costumes, all the jokes, makes this really funny. And the inclusion of Garfield makes this a really funny comic arc. 2005. So yeah, Martin's back into this phase again, and instead gets some, makes like trail mix, healthy trail mix, and it's just really funny. I absolutely love the kids' reactions, and this is just a really funny comic strip to reread over and over and over again. 2018. So they're laughing because of Halloween, how Martin gives back candy and Nate tries to save this, but it doesn't happen. Oh well. The other section is where they do trick-or-treating, and they even have Chad, which is cool because they can show the power of Chad. And I love that sort of excitement, and all the jokes and all of that makes this really enjoyable to read. 2011. So yes, this is the same thing where Martin gives out bad candy and all that trick-or-treat stuff. The other section is where Nate eats up a lot of candy. I would show the comic beforehand, but it's kind of gruesome. But otherwise, this comic strip is really fun to read and is very enjoyable at that. 2010. So yes, this is the same thing as before as 2011. They can both be interchanged, but it has better jokes, and I absolutely love Nate's costume. He's literally a bunny. I absolutely love that. 2015. Yes, yada yada. It's the same premise, but yeah, again, there's funny jokes here and there. Like the fact that Nate is dressed up as Monopoly Man, things don't go super well because of it. And I absolutely love how Martin eats up the candy at the end, and I absolutely love that sort of humor. 6. 2014. So instead of dressing like as whatever, they decided to dress up as villains, even though Nate dressed up as Gina. I mean, yes, 2015 and 2014 can be interchanged, but I feel like this one's a bit better because the jokes can land and make you laugh a lot. 4. 1996. So the reason why I put this up higher is because I just love how Nate's an alien, and I absolutely love how Martin ends up eating the candy because that's what he likes to do. And both of these are really good sort of premises for both being like separate like comic kind of arcs, and it absolutely makes me crack up and make me smile. I absolutely love this sort of humor. Speaking of that candy stuff, in 1998 there was something like that, but I forgot to mention it. Oops. 4. 2013. So instead of focusing mostly on trick-or-treating, there's like a few sections where Nate is late, he doesn't get the good candy, and I just love how it focuses on, instead of just trick-or-treating, it also focuses on something else special, and it makes it really funny, and has definitely good depth because of that enjoyment. 3. 2001. The last 3 are based on Martin's bad candies, and all these are remembered fondly, like this one. Martin makes homemade candy, and it doesn't go so well. And I absolutely love that humor, how like kids hate it so much that they don't even take it, and the rest is just super notch, to say the least. 2. 2003. Like 2001, this one is also remembered fondly, and it even appeared in one of the Big Nate books collections, because it's just so funny to see. And the reason why I put this one number 2 is because number 1 is inspired by this one, and I absolutely just love this sort of like humor of Martin's bad candy. I just love this so much. 1. 2000, 2003, 2001, and all the other ones are based on this one. I know what you're wondering, but what about 1997? Technically, it was inspired by this one, and it's been mentioned countless times because it's been fondly remembered, and it's just the best Halloween comic because everyone loves like every single like humor and all that kind of stuff, and it makes it very funny, and it's definitely the best Halloween Big Nate comic. Thank you so much for watching my ranking, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.